It is an obsession, you're right, but it's also it's a love story. I love the ocean. I love the feeling on a boat when you're just in sync with it. And it's just you and the ocean and you're completely at one with it.
There is a lot of shitty content on social media, particularly in the boating world. We all know it. Some of it's even been on the captain. Anyway, one man who does know what good content looks like is Dave from 42 Degrees South BoatWorks. What does 42 Degrees South BoatWorks do?
42 Degrees South BoatWorks hit between the eyes, safety. To break that down, everything on the boat except what's under the cowling. I'm not a mechanic, I'm not an engineer in that regard, and I won't touch it. That's a specialised job for a specialised skill set. Everything else on the boat, whether that be wiring, whether that be going through your wiring, whether that be diagnosing corrosion issues, providing corrosion management plans, tuition, offshore, inshore, trailering, close quarter management, learning how to get the best out of your boat, tuning your boat's a huge part of what I do, actually, and tuning not by me chipping your engine, but propping, hiding, balancing it, making sure that you know how to work with those things so the boat's working at its optimum. 42 itself started unofficially probably when I bought Penguin, the 2100 I have again now. 42 came about then officially because I got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And I had to make a decision. I was a single dad and it was okay. Now it's time to hang the shingle out, as it were, and see what happens.
So you've been in a shitload of boats. What are your favourite boats?
The thing is, I love all boats. I mean, my ex-wife would have said to you, I am far more interested in boats than I ever was in women. And it's true. Small, big, ugly, don't care. I just love them. I love getting to know them. I love the feel of it.
I knew a guy like that who had that theory, but about women as well. He was never disappointed.
Boats to me are very much part of the family, I think. I think they have a personality. And certainly working in the work that I do, you really learn how much of a personality they do have. And they become part of it. They are very much a family thing. They're a mates thing, they're a solo thing, it's a lifestyle. Drop the money out of it and drop the testosterone out of it and appreciate it for the lifestyle. There's just nothing on the planet like it.
So, all right, if boats choose you, why did this amazing 2100 Staby called the Penguin pick you?
The Penguin. So I'd been through multiple boats. I mean, I'd driven, even at that stage before I did this professionally, I'd driven pretty much most of what you could drive, and I wanted something that was going to last the rest of my life. I wanted something that wasn't a point and shoot machine that was good at one thing. I wanted something that was going to be able to take me places that nothing else was going to take me. Yeah. And that's after a year of research and driving God knows how many boats, that's what I chose. It
is hands down the best riding Stabicraft. Possibly plate boat. I need to cast my mind back, and in fact better than most glass boats I've been in. What is the secret to that boat?
There's a lot of thought went into little bits and pieces that could be done to it. I was much more interested in functionality than bling. Example being, it never had a deck wash, no windscreen wipers, no radar, no paint, nothing. I wanted everything to be just simple, commercial, bulletproof. Thicker hull, thicker sides, exactly the motor that I wanted.
So you picked the DF200 not because it was a Suzuki DF200 with a great reputation. Largely, you picked that engine because it was the right weight.
Yeah, I picked, well, two reasons. One, I picked it because it was a Suzuki, because I had Suzukis previously. I love them. I'm an unashamed Suzuki fan. But I also picked it because of the way it carries its balance and the amount of torque it had for the weight it had. So it's big capacity, it just lumps along, and when you hit the throttle, it screams. And being able to carry the weight that little bit further forward, have the centre of buoyancy where I wanted it. If you look at the boat, or you've been on the boat now, she sits a little bit further back than most do, and that has a huge effect on the ride.
Two-part question. How many boats do you think you've tuned?
Over 500.
over 500 boats, and what are the most common problems you see?
Engine height, number one. Engine height, number one, is always a thing. Number two, the driver, without question. Now, that's not necessarily that they're a bad driver, but they're not thinking about how you have to balance a boat. And it's not just about engine trim or pushing, trim tabs. It's about where are you storing stuff? Where are you setting your engine trim in relation to your speed? Are you actually driving the boat the way it was designed to be driven? So I'd say engine height is number one, the biggest one, to get that right. Get them driving it right first, get the thing balanced right first, then worry about props.
Yep.
Props are the last thing I look at.
Let's talk gyros, jacking plates, trim tabs.
All of these things, I think they have their place. I think, if you want my honest opinion, I think that there's too much technology now getting into boating that's stopping people actually understanding how to handle the sea.
Yep.
And that scares me.
What is the main thing you're channeling when you're out there?
I learn the science first, but I don't drive with science, I drive by feel. It's all about what my feet are telling me, what my hands are telling me, what my ears are telling me. It's just an interaction with the boat. It's listening to it talk, basically. And I'm feeling for vibration, I'm feeling for the steering interaction, I'm feeling for, can you trim it? Are you getting anywhere close to what the engine should be doing in terms of fuel? Can you exceed that economy? Well, it's like a holistic package. Does it feel good to drive? Do I feel safe?
There's a fair bit of ego in boating and boat ownership, as you know. And it is with some trepidation that I ask you to jump aboard the Shark Cab. You haven't as yet, but from afar, what are your first impressions?
First impression of that Shark Cat is that it is an absolute beast. There's a reason why they're classics. There's definitely some things I'd like to do to it, but first impressions are you could pretty much do anything with it once you know what you're doing. Ride's exceptionally good, which is not surprising. Again, they're a classic hull. She's not as soft as some, but really predictable. There's not a hellish hull dipping going on. Turns are awesome, nice and flat, hugely responsive. Running out of breath at the top end, but the ride's bloody good. At the moment, the toe in I don't feel on the engines is right. I don't think that they're putting their stream the right way. I don't feel like the height of the engines is right. There's not enough trim response, and I would change the props. These four bladers are too big. They've been put on to try and get stern lift, but there's a couple of indicators straight away that show me when I've taken this prop off that there may be an issue. First one is the grease that's on there. It's very new grease, but it's blackened, which means that somewhere in there's some metal shavings being chewed up. This thrust washer, I can't move it. I can't get that off, and that should be just a straight. After you've actually put a set of props on or a prop on, you've got to actually test what it's doing and what the outcomes are. Now, you're looking to get within a couple of hundred RPM of your rated maximum for your engine. Now, that's a very rough rule of thumb, but it's a good start. You're looking for light steering. You're looking for active trim, where you can actively feel the trim from all the way in to all the way out. You can feel the boat lift up. You're looking for good hole shot, and most importantly, you're looking for stability. You're looking for the feel of the boat interacting with the water instead of fighting against it. Now, what we've just found on this one, going from 4 blades to 3 blades, is we've brought back the trim. We didn't have trim before. We're turning flatter, hole shot's clearer, engines are quieter, there's no cavitation, the wake itself is a lot clearer. So there's lots of signs that we're on the right track. So one of the other things that I'm looking at when I'm testing a boat, I want to know what the wake's doing. The wake is a huge indicator, if you know what you're looking for, about what the hull's doing in the water. So with a planing hull, we're always looking for angles. We're always looking for where it's sitting, whether it can skim, nosedive, etc. Now this boat yesterday was throwing this mountain of water out the back. If you look at it now, got a nice even curl coming. It's not foaming the water, it's just quietly ticking along. And this is sitting at 9 knots, which for a planing hull is about the worst speed you can have. It's the transition between being a displacement hull, so running through that, or being a planing hull, which is obviously running across the top of the water. So far the indicators are really good. Come up another 2 knots and you'll see it even more. More trim up. Keep coming. So that's another indicator there as well. So what we're looking for is that B at the back. It's almost like a surfing wave, like you want to do a Malibu thing on it. That's a great indicator that the hull is actually riding through the water properly. We're actually sliding through the water as opposed to dragging through it. So one of the last things we're trying now, we've eliminated height. The engine height's good. Everything else is great. The props are good. One last thing we can do with the twin engine setup is look at the toe in, toe out. So toe in, engines facing each other. Toe out, obviously pushing thrust away. Now, one of the most common things with twin engines, very rarely are they the same height. One is always fractionally higher than the other. Massive effect on fuel economy, whole shot, quietness, everything. The other thing that can happen, if your toe in, toe out's not correct, one engine can sit straight, one can sit like that. So the water's flowing clean over one, the other one is just dragging sideways through the water. Now, on this particular boat, one of the things we found, the port engine had burring on the spines of the shaft. There's more evidence of damage and of loading there as opposed to the starboard prop. So what we're going to do is, now having talked about that toe in, toe out, we're going to use this head unit for the Optimus steering fitted to these engines. We're going to adjust the low speed toe in and toe out, which will alter the attitude of the hull in the water as far as trolling speed and transition speed onto the plane. Then we're going to alter the high speed toe in, toe out to make sure that when we're on the plane, we're running at the optimal water flow past the props. That eliminates cavitation. It's allowing the props to do their best job. So we've just completed the last test, so now I can go through a few facts and figures about fuel. Now, it turns out that the engines did need toe in. One of the engines was decidedly out. Now, it's hard to see sometimes when they're in or out, but the testing will prove it. This is where the science part comes in. This is where getting a professional to do it rather than guesswork makes the difference. Now, change in figures, we've gained, give or take, about 5 knots in top end. So we've got better economy, we've got much quieter boat, much better steering, much better whole shot, much better top speed. Everything about this boat has come to life. It feels alive. It's interacting with the water, it's interacting with you when you're driving, and the figures bear that out. Yesterday we were burning, give or take, about 0.7, or we were getting about 0.7 of a kilometre per litre combined motors. That's not hugely bad on a boat like this. It's a big, heavy boat with big engines. We're now just kissing the 1 litre combined per kilometre. We've dropped the RPM to get the same speed, which means the engines are working less hard, but we've also increased the wide open throttle RPM, which means that we've got the trim to be able to lift the boat up out of the water. So from an overall economy point of view, across the day, that will probably save you about 30, 40, 50 odd litres if you drive conservatively. They sound like such tiny gains, but across a year, you know, given $2 plus a litre for fuel, that's a huge amount of money that you're going to save, not least of which you're also going to save the mechanical work that's going to have to be done on the engines if they're under strain. If they're not under strain, you just got to service them and they'll go forever. I loved this cat yesterday. I would say I'm pretty much in love with it now. I would happily tow it home with me, but I'm not giving the Penguin up for anything. The Penguin's named for my son. My son passed away the 31st of March last year in an accident at home with me. And hence the Penguin on the hand and the Xavier. He had been called the Penguin since he was a little boy. When I was telling George, when he was a month old, if you couldn't settle him, we had a photo of Macquarie Island with all the penguins, and you just hold him up and he'd just sit there and just instant quiet. And so he was, from that day forward, he was always the Penguin. And he loved boats? He did, yeah. He caught his first tutor when he was 5 with Daddy on our little 1850 Frontier. I don't know how to describe, sorry if I get a little, with this, Xavier loved everything. Xavier was just a kid that just embraced everything because all he knew was love. Even though his parents were separated, all we believed in was giving him what he needed. There's no bullshit, no arguing, nothing. It was all about letting him be who he was and what he was. And he loved the things that he did with his mama, and he loved the life that we led. I mean, a few weeks before he passed, we were out making YouTube videos because he wanted his own YouTube channel on the boat, and I've still got him. This boat as well, huge sentimental attachment for me, which I think we've talked about a bit. It was the boat that was supposed to be the family boat for the rest of my life. You know, we had it built before Xavier was born. I was saying the last time I was in Eden was my ex-wife was 7 months pregnant with Xavier.
Yeah.
And his first boat ride was in that boat, 3 months old, big Swedish life jacket, little sunglasses up the front, passed out. You know, he did with so many things in that boat. And as a family we did. And then, yeah, I had to sell her, and with that went a lot of the good things, a lot of the memories. I've got a belief about boats that they don't just choose you, but they become part of you. They're your family, they're part of your family. People will probably scoff at that, but they do, they really do. And anyone who's a real ocean person knows that. They are part of your family. And seeing her go was horrible, but after Xavier passed, I approached the old owner, the guy who'd bought it from me, and just said, I don't care what it costs, I want it back, I need it back. You know, little things like in the anchor world. When I replaced the anchor winch, there's still Xavier's drawings, still there. And, you know, what price can you get that for? So
That's very cool, mate. What would he say if he saw you out there charging around?
Well, the reason it's hot pink and purple, because they were his favourite colours. Now, this is going to probably sound a bit dumb, but there's two reasons why it is penguin and it's hot pink. And the first one is we had a black 1850 Frontier, and both of us adored that boat. It was a brilliant little boat. And we did everything on that. He did his first camping trip, first offshore trip, first fish caught, first tuna caught, just everything first. But he always missed his big silver boat with the big cabin and the big engine. And he asked me probably about 4 months before he passed, you know, if we ever get another boat, can we make it pink and purple? Hell yeah, buddy, because he just asked me if we could spray paint his room pink and purple as well. And why not? If that's what you want to do. And so when I got it back, it was really emotional. I mean, it was at the start of a tour. I got it back and it was just, I think derelict is probably as good a word as any. And I had to leave it for 2 months, and I was on tour, and I came back, and first Christmas without Xavier, I was thinking, well, how can I honour him? How can I show him that I still see him up there? And if he's looking down on us now and he saw us out there hammering around doing crazy circles in his pink boat, you would see a smile like you'd never see anything like it.
That's cool.
He would have been out there telling me to go faster.